Daniel Stenberg is the maintainer of the curl project, a project which you've probably interacted with in one form or another. Even if not directly, it's probably been a dependency of something you've used. And I mean you've probably used it even if you're on the Windows side, because it's on Windows and it's a dependency for Windows things as well. And over the years, I've covered blog posts he's published, like this one here, Death by 1,000 Slops. Now maybe AI has a place in development, and the tech is certainly getting better, but that doesn't mean that everyone is using the latest thing, and even with the latest thing, it doesn't mean the tool you're using deeply understands the codebase you're looking at. As these tools get more and more popular, this has led to a flood of AI slop security reports into the curl project, and Daniel maintains a list of these because this is something he very much doesn't want to deal with, and frankly, I don't even think this is all of them. These are just ones he has listed here, and ones that have currently been made public. There's probably some that exist which are still waiting to be done. One very recent example from Dark SQL, heap out of bounds read in lib http2.c via malform push promise headers. Now, as we scroll through this, you're gonna notice it's formatted in a very particular kind of way. And Daniel's like, this doesn't work. The strings are null terminated. This is rubbish. This is where you know immediately this is AI. Daniel, you are correct regarding the typo in the suggested patch. The format specified should be this, not this. I apologize for the noise in the diff. However, regarding the null termination, immediately right here, you're like, okay, yeah, I know what this is. I know exactly what we're looking at here. No human writes like this. Better yet, yes, the report is nonsense, but it's also nonsense based on a prior example of a nonsense report. Literally the same name, reported like 2 weeks earlier. So, well, it's pretty obvious what's happening here. Either you copied that one, or AI copied it anyway. Also, it doesn't appear to be a real problem anyway, so yeah. But the AI is very determined that this is real. Sorry if that was misleading. Again, no humans write like this. No one at all writes like this, at least in a security report. Now, the person who did report this did say, hey, I'm not a native English speaker. I use AI tools to translate and summarize technical documentation. Fine, that's fair. But that's not what you did. You weren't translating to be clearer so that a native English speaker understands you, because if you were translating, you wouldn't have included the technical aspects that were in the code. And as Daniel tends to do, if you're in a situation like this, you're banned. Get out. We do not want to deal with you here. And it's basically the same with anything on this list. Just pick some examples like this one, this one, this one, and this one, and it's all going to be pretty much the same kind of thing. Some of them are going to be more obvious than others, but they're all the same kind of nonsense, formatted in the same way, written in a way that no person actually writes, and 99% of the time either not a problem or a problem that was already dealt with in an older version of the codebase. Or even better, using a function in a non-documented way that a user could never actually interact with. This would be something you'd need to like fork curl to use. Obvious nonsense, and you deserve a ban. The problem though is even when they're obvious, this is still time being wasted, and the problem is a lot of them, yeah, you might think, oh, this looks like AI in retrospect, but you're also gonna see a lot of serious reports which actually are AI, and you can't just say anything which gives you that kind of like, ooh, it might be AI is immediately going to be. you got to actually go and test it. You got to go and see, is this a real problem? Is this an actual security vulnerability? Because sometimes it might be a bug and not a security vulnerability. Sometimes it might be a real security vulnerability. Sometimes it might just be nonsense, but none of these immediately just scream, this is nonsense, this is bad. And even if this is AI, there's a chance it might actually be a real bug or a real security issue. And even though it might be using undisclosed AI, it's still a problem you've got to deal with. So you can't just immediately throw things away. Everything that is AI slop nonsense, you've got to waste time sifting through to work out what it actually is. In the hopes of trying to eliminate some of this, every time one of these is discovered, it gets added to the list, it gets publicly disclosed, and also the person gets banned. But they keep coming because, well, there's a pretty simple reason for that. Curl offers, or at least offered, and we'll get to that, a bug bounty. So, yeah, you might get banned. And yeah, this might be wasting the time of the project. But let's say you're from a country where their low severity bug bounty, $540, is gonna change your life. A lot of people are going to take that risk. They didn't care about the account anyway. They're going to say, okay, maybe there's a chance I can get one of these. Maybe, just maybe. And you're probably not going to. But you don't care about the account anyway. So you just go for it. And if you don't get it, you don't get it. If you do, well, you just got some money. And you know what? Whilst I could, I don't fully blame the individuals who are trying to abuse this system. For people that are in a bad situation, and this seems like a way to get out of the situation, like I can't say anything really that bad about them. Yeah, a lot of people are abusing, and yeah, that's bad, but at the end of the day, a lot of people have been sold a false promise for what these tools are capable of, and think that this is going to be their way to get out of this, and all they need is just this one little case, this one security vulnerability that just maybe their AI is actually going to find. No amount of disclosure, no amount of telling people, hey, don't do this, is going to change the fact that this is reality now. So there comes a point where basically enough is enough, and you've got to change the way you do things. Recently, this was opened by Daniel Stenberg. Bugbounty.md, we stopped the bug bounty at the end of January. Remove mentions of the bounty in HackerOne. There'll be more mentions, blog posts, timings, etc. in the coming weeks. The fun is over, too much time has been wasted, and it just doesn't seem like this is a way that you can run a project anymore unless you have people that you're willing to just have their time wasted trying to iron out these problems. And of course, you get at least one comment from someone who thinks this is going to change anything. So Luddites laugh at how bad vibe coding is, but when AI finds more bugs than code in a human project, they take down the bounty instead of fixing them. Now, Daniel never had a problem with real issues being found. If you managed to find a real issue, that was your ticket to not being banned. The problem is you weren't going to find a real issue. And would you be surprised to know who is the one thumbs down here? Wow, it's the person who made the comment. Why do people think this is going to change anyone's mind? Oh, if I insult you, you're just going to like revert the change that you're making and bring back the bug bounty. No. That's not how that works. And one of the person here didn't really understand why there was even a bug bounty to begin with. I mean, if you think about it, the idea of bug bounties came to be in the context of businesses, because for businesses, it is simply cheaper. For every one person that finds something, 9, number chosen by Fair Dice Roll, people have wasted large amounts of unpaid time on doing an audit of your codebase. So fundamentally, the tool was conceived for value extraction, but then suddenly, value was extracted back through bogus reports. In the middle of all that, FOSS projects like Curl adapted it because it was what everyone was doing, and then you got caught in the crossfire of that counter value extraction. Anyway, probably doesn't really belong here, but I thought that this perspective/take might provide some value. If not, feel free to delete or hide. I understand that. And yeah, if you're a business and somebody reports a bug, that's one person that you didn't have to pay. And now you're giving them like, a couple $100 that you would have paid your engineer, maybe a couple $1,000. For a big company, that actually makes a lot of sense. But if you're an open source project, most of the people contributing are doing so for free. So somebody finding a bug generally is also going to find the bug for free. But now you're taking some of the money and handing it off to that person. Now, this does act as an incentive to get people more interested in trying to find bugs, but it's like a different relationship where the existence of a proprietary project by a company only exists because you're paying for it. The existence of a FOSS project generally exists because someone wanted to make it. Now, over on the mailing list, Daniel expanded upon this change. Allow me to share some of the things that kept me occupied this week. January 16th, 2026, Daniel's week. We started out the week receiving 7 HackerOne issues within a 16-hour period. Some of them were true and proper bugs, and taking care of this lot took a good while. Eventually, we concluded that none of them identified a vulnerability, and now we count 20 submissions done already in 2026. We made some noise, as I mentioned, my PR in progress that is about to remove all mention of a bug bounty from the kernel documentation. It is still in the planning phase, and there will be more communication done about it, but we aim to be shutting this down at the end of January 2026. The main goal with shutting down the bounty is to remove the incentive for people to submit crap and non-war research reports to us, AI generated or not. The current torrent of submissions put a high load on the kernel security team, and this is an attempt to reduce the noise. You're always going to get badly researched reports because some people do it for the clout, especially on platforms like HackerOne, which do have a sort of reputation system. But clout is a far smaller incentive than money. Money is going to get people to do lots and lots of things for it, even if that involves wasting a ton of time. Not having that there is going to certainly... it's going to cut back on some of the real reports. And that is a sort of fault they're willing to deal with. But at the same time, it's worth it with how much time is saved by not dealing with the utter garbage. At least when people realize they don't have a bug bounty anymore, because, well, until people realize that, you're still going to get some of the nonsense. This week, I had a lengthy discussion with a person who did one of the silly AI-generated submissions on HackerOne, and whom I have publicly ridiculed because of this. It was useful for me to make me remember that oftentimes these people are just ordinary, misled humans, and they might actually learn from this and perhaps even change. In this particular case, the person insists I have ruined their professional life because of my language and my exposing the link to the issue on Mastodon. I think that is overdoing it, as I don't know the person's real name, location, language, sex, or even continent. All we know is a hacker alias once used in a report, and since there have been many silly ones, you can't even tell which one of the many users I speak of here. Some people are very, how would you say it? I guess extravagant when they have problems. This is a balance, of course, but I also continue to believe that exposing, discussing, and ridiculing the ones who waste our time is one of the better ways to get the message through. You should never report a bug or a vulnerability unless you actually understand it and can reproduce it. If you still do, I believe I'm in the right to make fun of and be angry at the person doing it. But sure, I also need to be restrained. The person might be a teenage kid who did a single one-time mistake and will then move on in life and make excellent stuff in the future. Absolutely, very possible, and some people, when they realize, hey, maybe I shouldn't go and report this AI nonsense, actually do go and learn the proper way to do things, and this has happened in the past. But so many other people are trying to exploit the system, and there comes a point, like the person we saw here, there comes a point where you just have to say, is it even worth it anymore? And maybe this one person isn't that big of a deal, but it's not just one person, right? It's not just one person leaving a bad report. If that was the case, who really cares? It is hundreds of people all leaving nonsense, and you have to sort through those. That takes time that you probably don't have. Leaving HackerOne, it might be harder to publicly disclose silly reports, but I need to work at a system so that I can keep showing off the worst offenders. Well, you got a screenshot button, so I'm sure you can work it out somehow. I understand why Daniel's in this position, and I'm sure a lot of other projects are in the same position as well, and don't want to have to get rid of it, because you're going to have good reports that you do lose, where somebody's like, okay, I could spend my time trying to find a problem in curl, but they don't have a bug bounty now, so I'm going to spend my time on another project. You're going to lose those reports, right? That is going to happen. But it's a trade-off that they've had to make, where the cost of the bug bounty is no longer valuable enough that it justifies its existence. And I don't like that, because I think things are going to keep getting worse before they get better, especially as more people come on the internet. But I don't know. I don't know if there's a better way to deal with this, frankly, right? Like, somebody's got to sort through the bug bounty. Somebody's got to sort through a security report. That's not a free thing to do. So the more bad reports there are, the more somebody has to sort through it. If somebody has a better solution, I'd love to know it. I'm sure Daniel would as well. So I guess, yeah. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think of the bug bounty going away? Do you think other bug bounties are going to go away as well? Or do you think for some big companies, it's worth it for them to keep it around because, you know, they have a dedicated team and they're paying them anyway? I don't know. I'd love to know. So let me know your thoughts down below. Go like the video if you like the video. Go subscribe if you want to subscribe. And if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon subscribes Daily Bearer Pay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and it's rough, but sometimes you got to make rough choices.